People, what's going on? You guys already know who it is. Your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. Tonight's topic is about refinancing your home. As you guys know, I'm an entrepreneur, commercial realtor, an individual, of course, that invests into stocks, a stock trader, stock investor, an individual that have sold businesses, a mentor, an individual that learns, that knows also the value of wealth. A lot of you need to understand in the world that we live today, we're in a world where we got to understand what tools benefit us and when and why. A lot of us don't realize a couple years ago during COVID, it was a great time to leverage something called, of course, equity. And if for a lot of you that may not know what equity is, you're going to learn what equity is tonight. For a lot of you that don't know what refinancing is, you will learn about that tonight. Tonight, I'm talking about refinancing your home, pulling out equity, leveraging your home to go into a different type of asset. When is the right time to, of course, refinance? What is refinancing? What is the different types of refinancing? This is one of the things I always want to tell people when it comes to, of course, investing into your future. It's imperative you start to learn the importance of investing into a home. For a lot of us who have bought homes at the right time and at the right prices, we sometimes have what we call equity in a home. A lot of you need to understand first and foremost, what is equity? A lot of you don't realize you can make money in real estate in a lot of different ways. When you own a home, in a lot of different ways. One way is, of course, simply buying the property, renting it out. Another way, of course, of making money in real estate is buying the property, rehabbing it, meaning getting it back up to par, getting it back up to market value, and selling it for retail costs. Another way of making great money or leveraging your property is actually buying a property below market, and as it appreciates in value, you get to go to the bank and do one of the three things we're going to talk about today. We're going to learn the importance of refinancing. When should you refinance? What's the different tools, the different options of refinancing? What's the pros and cons? As you buy a home, hypothetically, you bought a home for $300,000. Later on, 2-3 years later, the home is worth, $400,000. The difference between what you bought it for and what it's worth, okay, that's called equity. So hypothetically, in this example, to make the numbers easy, you have $100,000 worth of equity. The question is, what do you do? Well, option number one, you always have the option of simply just selling your home. So if you sold your home, the home is worth $400,000, you bought it for $300,000, you're going to net a profit of roughly $100,000, of course. There's going to also be, of course, closing costs, commissions, and different things. So you really want to come home with $100,000. This is just all theoretical. I want you guys to understand the importance of this because a lot of people are DMing me like, Bobby, when is the best time to refinance a home? When is the best time to pull equity? What should I do with my equity? Which refinancing option benefits me best? See, in this world, as you're growing and you're elevating and you're investing into properties, your properties are going to eventually have equity if you bought them correctly. And what's beautiful about equity, if it's your primary home, you could at least pull 80% from the equity. So hypothetically, in the example I just gave, you bought a home at $300,000. The home is now worth 3 years later, $400,000. You could pull at least $80,000 out of that $100,000. Now, of course, when you call your lender or any lender and say, look, I want to pull out $80,000. One of the things I always want to tell people is before you even get yourself in a position to want to refinance, they're not just going to give you the money like that. They're first going to ask you for copies of your 2 years tax returns. They're also sometimes may ask for just 1 year. They're also going to look at your credit. They're also going to look at how many dollars do you have in your savings personal account. This is very imperative because a lot of you want to refinance or pull equity from your home, but you're not financially sound. Because you got to understand, one way of refinancing, one of the options they're all going to tell you is, would you like to just simply refinance the home? What some people do is they want to refinance the home to bring the mortgage payment down and stretch it out. So really think about this. Hypothetically, you owe 20 years, okay? Think about this. A lot of people, when they get loans, when you buy a home, you're usually on what we call a 30-year mortgage. It's amortized over 30 years. The reason that lenders amortize your payments over 30 years, so your mortgage can be affordable. Because if it's not amortized over 30 years and they amortize over 15 or 10, your mortgage would really be a real aggressive mortgage. So they amortize over 30 years. And again, you guys heard me say this before. Do not think the best thing to do is to wait 30 years and make every payment for the next 30 years. If you can make extra payments per year, extra payments per month, that is a great thing. Some of you have ways that, of course, you could actually pay principal down throughout the year. That is a great thing to do. Last week, I spoke about the term called recast. Again, if you're paying principal down, the next thing to do is to call your lender and tell them, look, hey, I paid $40,000 down from the principal. I would like to recast my mortgage. All that simply means is I want to restructure my mortgage based on the principal that I currently owe compared to what I used to owe. And that's a big difference to your mortgage. Your mortgage could have been $2,800. You recast it, it only costs usually $100 or $200, and now you're down to $2,100 for the life of the loan. That's a very important thing to understand. It's called recasting. You guys could always go to my YouTube channel and watch what is recasting, and I educate you in a very detailed manner so you can understand what is recasting. Tonight we're talking about refinancing your home. You bought a home, you bought your dream home hypothetically at $300,000. 3-4 years later, your home is worth $400,000. Right now, we all know we're slowly getting out of COVID, but we're also in a somewhat theoretical war in a weird way, right? But at the same time, I want you guys to understand, there was the last 2-3 years, if you didn't really pay attention, because a lot of you may not really care about economics, interest rates were at like 2.5, 2.75, and this was the lowest rates have ever been. This was actually one of the best times to have refinance your home. And again, when you refinance, we're going to talk about 3 different versions of refinancing. Because there's the normal refinance where, again, you bought a home, I don't know, 6 years ago, and your rate was 6%. Well, hypothetically, in the last 3 years, rates were 2.5, 3%. You could pretty much refinance your home where they're going to restructure your new mortgage based on the new rate. So guess what? You're no longer hypothetically paying $2,000. You're now paying $900 a month because you bought at 6%, and now the interest rate is at 3%. So pretty much what they're doing is restructuring your mortgage based on the new interest rate, and they're stretching the mortgage out. So hypothetically, you owed, I don't know, 25 years. Now they're going to restretch it back to 30 years. So in a weird way, it's not like you won. You just have a lower payment. Because now, here's what I want you guys to understand. Any of the 3 that I'm going to talk about tonight, it's very imperative that you have a good credit score. You have your tax returns in line, because this is so important. You may sometimes even need good, strong bank statements, because a lot of you don't understand having a home comes with responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities is not just maintenance in the home, because we all know if you have a home, there's always something broken. Every minute I got to fix something in my house. I just put a new garage a couple months ago. I don't know. I just had to put a $40,000 roof cash. Now I got to put 2 back hurricane windows for $5,000. Every minute there's something that you got to fix in the home. Your home is never really done if you really think about it. You could eventually just plateau and say, look, I'm going to take a break. But one thing I want you guys to understand, I thought this live is going to be very important because I want you guys to understand, when is the great time to refinance? What do you invest into and why? You really think about it, one reason people refinance, as I spoke about earlier, your interest rate is just too high. You have a 6%, currently rates by theory, let's say it's 3%. You're refinancing because you want to bring your mortgage down. That's number one. That's a normal refi. Pretty much you're just bringing your interest payment, your mortgage payment down, just stretching it out for another 5 to 10 years. Again, at the end of the day, you pay less per month. But at the end of the day, it's not like it's really saving you money, because long term, they still have to accumulate all the dollars that they lost by, of course, stretching the mortgage out. Now, if you're smart enough, like I always tell people, make sure every year you make extra payments. If you can make 2 extra payments, if you can make 3 extra payments, if you can sometimes take half of your tax return, put it towards your principal, or just make extra payments. Because the goal is not to pay a mortgage for 30 years. That is not the goal. I don't know why this world brainwashes us to make us believe that. The smartest thing to do is to pay your mortgage for the next 30 years. If you do the math based on whatever you pay for your mortgage, times that by 12, times that by 30 years, you're probably paying 4 times what you think you bought the home for. A lot of people do not realize when you buy a home, hypothetically for $600,000, and your mortgage is $3,000 times 12 months, that's $36,000 times 30 years. You probably paid $1.4 million for that home. You did not pay $600,000 for that home. See, that's why they amortize it. But if you're smart, you'll realize, hold on, let me make extra payments. Let me double some of my payments sometimes, because again, the goal is to outpace the 30 years. You want to be able to pay off that house before 30 years. Now, we love this world. Why? Because one thing about buying a home is if you bought it right, that's why I tell people when you're buying a home, make sure you do the numbers. Don't listen to anybody. Get a professional to really give you great guidance. Preferably, I like to tell people, get an investor friend or investor individual who understands the market. Because the goal of life is not to just buy a home in this high-ass market right now. Because, again, this market is very aggressive. These homes are way overvalued. And some of you are buying homes in this market right now. You got to really understand how much of a problem this is. You're buying homes above the market. Some of you are paying so far above it, you're never going to see the price of your home ever again. So for some of you, this video is not going to benefit you because you will never have what I'm talking about in this video, which is equity. Equity is the difference between the purchase price compared to the appreciation price of what it's worth later on. Example, like I said earlier, you bought a home for $300,000. 5 years later or 3 years later, the home's worth $400,000. The purchase price compared to what it's worth now, that difference is called equity. You could go to the bank and say, look, I want a refinance. You could also say number two, which we're going to talk about, it's called a cash out refinance. Meaning this, I want to pull out 80% of that $100,000 since it's my primary home. And I actually want you to restructure the mortgage. Now, here's what's beautiful. When interest rates are low, not only do you get a lower interest rate, your payment is sometimes, imagine you got an extra $100,000 or $80,000 just for your mortgage going up $200. So what you're essentially doing, a cash out refinance means I'm cashing out some of the equity. And on closing, okay, I'm going to have a new mortgage, which is going to be maybe $200, $300, a couple $100 above what I was currently paying. But my interest rate is lower. And sometimes what's beautiful when the interest rates are real low, you no longer even need a 30-year mortgage anymore because the interest rates were so low. And you now have a 15-year mortgage compared to the 30-year mortgage. But you guys got to know when to attack these type of scenarios. A lot of people are asking me right now, based on a cash out refinance, based on a regular refi, or based on what we're about to talk about next, which is what we call a heat lock, what is the best option? Okay, you have a $300,000, you have a $400,000 home, you bought it for $300,000, it's worth $400,000. You have $100,000 in it. Number one, before you even refinance the property, okay, you need to ask yourself a question, especially if you're going to do a cash out refinance or a heat lock. A heat lock simply means a home equity line of credit. Now, what's unique about the heat lock compared to, of course, the cash out refi, when they cash you out hypothetically 80%. 80% of that $100,000, which is $80,000. Your mortgage, I don't know, was $1,500. Now it's $1,700. Wow, I got $80,000 and all I had to do was pay $200 more. Yes, but you got to understand, you're paying $1,700, that $200 more, times 12 for the next 30 years. Because everything is about the numbers. Now, my thing is with people, before you take out any money out of your house, did you ask yourself a question, what are you going to do with the money? Because here's what people do. Oh my God, I have $200,000 in my house. I just can't wait. It's equity. I just can't wait to take the equity out. The question is, what is your plan? Well, I need what's popping, baby. What is your plan of action? Never take money out of your house. This is a disclaimer. This is educational information. Never take money out of your house if you do not have a plan of action. What are you going to do with the $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 that you're taking out of the equity? A lot of you love to just pull money with no plan in place. And what's going to essentially happen is you're going to spend the money on all the wrong things. And then you're going to realize that now you have a mortgage you can't afford. You have nothing that's positively cash flowing to pay for that mortgage. I always tell people before you refinance a property, no matter if you're going to go do what we call a cash out refi, meaning I'm cashing out the equity. In the example I gave earlier, you bought a home for $300,000. 5 years later, the home's worth $400,000. That $100,000 difference, you could go to the bank and say, I want to cash that out. They're going to say, well, great. Let's look at your finances. Let's actually you're going to do what we call a cash out refi. I'm going to cash out and refinance my home, which is a great thing because sometimes your interest rate is lower. And for that lower interest rate, sometimes your payment just goes up $100, $200, and you just got $100,000 or $200,000 in your account. Now, here's the problem. A lot of you don't realize that, well, you got to think about this, okay? Yes, a cash out refi, when you close on that particular type of refinancing, it's a fixed interest rate, which is correct. Compared to what I'm about to talk about next is a variable interest rate. This is called a home equity line of credit. You could also go to the bank and say, hey, look, I bought my home for $300. It's now worth $400. What can I do with that $100,000? Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. They'll tell you, well, here's what you could do. We could give you a line of credit for $100,000, meaning you now have a line of credit that you could use at any time you want. And every time you use whatever amount you use of the $100,000, we're only going to charge you interest based on what you use. Pay attention. You have a $100,000 line of credit, meaning this credit line, you can do whatever you want with it. But we're charging you based on what you use. And usually they have what we call an introductory rate, which they're just babying you. Let me just give you a great rate in the beginning. And I want you to understand, when I say variable, this rate could keep going up. Due to, of course, laws in the United States of America, usury laws, there is a cap. But what I don't like about HELOC, and the good is pros and cons. The negative about a HELOC is that you gave me a credit line, and the rate could keep going up, especially if you pay attention to what's going on right now. Interest rates are going to go up at least 4 or 5 more times. So some people may say, well, a HELOC is not what I want because whatever I'm about to do, I need something that's going to be beneficial long term. You might want to go with a cash out refi. But if you're going with something more short term, 2, 3 years, 4 years, based on this example, how I'm saying short term, it might be better you just do a HELOC. But you got to really understand, the interest rate is variable. It never stops going up. And if you have a particular project that you're investing into and the interest rate keeps going up, sometimes the project is not valuable anymore. So whenever you're going to a bank, people, you got to understand what you're about to get yourself into. You're also going to get charged points on closing. Because a lot of these refinancing projects or leverage tools, these lenders like to make it seem like it's a free service. It's not. They charge very aggressively. I'm going to give you an example. I had to pull out $200,000 from one of my properties. For that $200,000 pull, I got charged roughly almost $19,000. What they simply did is add the $19,000 to my principal. So now it's not like I don't owe any money. They tacked it on the back end of the project, of the asset, which is my home. A lot of you need to understand this refinancing any of the ways that I'm talking about tonight is not a free service. These banks, these lenders like to make it seem like it's just the sweetest deal ever. Let's really think about it. You're giving me money that was already mine, but because you're advancing me my money, which is the cash out refi, you're charging me extra dollars per month. Hypothetically, my mortgage is $15. I don't know, you're to charge me $2,200. But that $700 difference is times 12 times 30 years. If you do the math based on what I pulled, hypothetically, I don't know, $200,000, I probably owe this company $700,000 for $200,000 if I take 30 years to pay it. The reason I'm saying this is, first of all, a lot of you need to have a plan. Number 2, you need to do the math. Because whatever you're pulling out the money for, what are you about to invest it into? Because you're going to always hear people tell you the best time right now is to refi. It depends. Sometimes the best thing for you to do is just sell your house and take your profits and go buy another house. Everything boils down to the numbers. Sometimes, I'm going to be honest, this is another reason why people refi. Sometimes people don't just refi for no reason. They refi because, again, look, they're pulling out the money and they have investment properties or they have a commercial building. And even though they pulled out hypothetically $2 million, the building is still paying for itself because the rent is so high in the building based on how many people are paying rent. So that $2 million is now pocketed. And the building is still cash flowing, or the homes are still cash flowing. Sometimes people do a refi just for liquidity purposes. They're not going to go invest into something else. They did it because it was the right time. It made sense. It puts liquid dollars in their pocket. And again, they're just waiting for another opportunity to probably go invest if they want. But for a lot of us, it's usually for equity purposes. We have a plan in place. We're about to invest into a bigger project. Maybe we're about to buy another home, another condo, another townhouse. People, before you go and invest, into your equity, meaning you're going to pull out equity and don't have a plan in place, think twice. Because I want to have you guys understand, you could really hurt yourself. There's a lot of individuals that have lost a lot of wealth because they thought pulling out the money and just leaving it in their bank account was the smartest thing, not realizing that you're getting charged. Here's what's funny about a heat lock. Remember, they charge you interest only based on what you use. So hypothetically, in the example we're using, you have a $100,000 home equity line of credit, which is another way of refinancing your home. They gave you that $100,000 just on a credit, like a credit line. Whatever you use, based on what you use, that's what you're going to get charged. So if you use $30,000 out of that 100, you get charged based on the $30,000. Let me have you understand. Every payment you make is all free money going to the lender. A heat lock, you're making what we call interest payments only. That means nothing goes towards the principal. Everything goes towards the interest. Meaning the company who lets you borrow the money, that's all going in their pocket every time you make a payment. Just like a cash out refi. All they did was add more dollars to your mortgage, advance you money that was already yours. Really think about that. The money was already yours. They advanced you the money that was already yours. Your mortgage go up a couple $100, sometimes $1,000. And of course, what they do, you still have a 30-year mortgage. But when you do the math, hold on. Hypothetically, my mortgage is, I don't know, $1,500. I cash out refi, I can get $300,000 out of my home. Well, you charge me $2,500 now. Now that $1,000 times 12 times 30 years, wow. When you do the math, it's like I paid 3 times the amount that I borrow if I take 30 years to pay that money back. That's why I always say if you're pulling out money from a home, which is equity of a home, you have to have a plan in place. What are you about to invest into? Which refinancing makes more sense for you? A home equity line of credit, using a credit line and just using a certain amount based on what you're investing into? Or do you want to just pull it all out one shot and just add it to my mortgage? That's the cash out refi. Or do you just want to refinance, do a normal refi, where you're just refinancing the home just to bring the payments down and stretch it further out? It's always imperative when you're investing or when you're a homeowner and you have equity in a home, you have to think about what are you going to do with the equity if you pull it out? Like myself, I'm actually going to invest into an apartment complex. I'm going into a bigger project. So I pulled out $200,000-$300,000 because I already know based on $200,000, you divide it by 0.20, which is what we call an LTV ratio of 20/80, meaning the 20% is what you're putting down. If you were to buy a project, if I did take that $200,000 divided by 0.20, it tells me what is the bank willing to give me for $200,000? Pretty much they're going to give me $1 million. Now, based on $1 million, of course, there's also going to be closing costs. So really, I might have to come out my pocket maybe another $50,000 or $40,000. But now with $200,000, I could buy a project up to $1 million. And I put out, well, let's say $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 out of my pocket to close the deal. Bobby now has an apartment complex, 12 people, 10 people, 15 people paying me rent. I go to one mailbox every first of the month and collect my rent from 12 to 15 people. That's having a plan in action, A lot of you like to pull equity out of homes with no plan of action. Are you going to start a business, maybe a restaurant? Are you going to invest in another property? Are you going to live your dreams? What is your plan of action if you pull this money out of the home? Because a lot of you are so excited to pull equity out of a house, but you have no plan in place. And now you done ruined your chances of trying to get another equity line. You can't refinance the more because you put all the money out. Now the market tanked. You're in a whole different situation now. Market tanks. See, this is the ideal situation. You pulled your money out of the property that you own. Next year, the market crashes, real estate market. Beautiful. Homes that was 600 is now down to 150. Homes that was $1 million is down to 400. Homes that was 2 million is now down to 700. Sweet music to my ears. Because guess what? While the market was where it needed to be, people like myself, we decided to pull all the money out of our equity, out of all our properties, and let it sit. Because why? When the crash happens, when a real estate crash happens, it's a buying opportunity. So now we take all the money that we just had in our home equity line just sitting there, all the money that's just been sitting in a certain account, just collecting soft interest payments. We're now going to buy up homes at 30% on the dollar. So homes that was roughly, I don't know, $300,000, we're going to buy them now at $60,000. And then we're going to rent them out. We're going to rent the home out $2,200 while our mortgage is only $500. And then we're going to do that to maybe 5 other properties. And then on the 7th year, guess what we did? The same homes we bought for $60,000, $70,000 each that we've been renting out, we sold all of them for $600,000 each. And you just made $3-4 million. This is what people were doing in 2008. The reason I'm doing this live because I want you guys to understand, one is, what is refinancing? Refinancing, you're restructuring your mortgage, you're stretching out the payments so you can have, one, either a cheaper mortgage, two, you're refinancing, either doing a cash out refinance to pull out the equity in a home. Three, you're pulling out the equity a different way, saying, look, I don't want you to add this equity payment to my mortgage. I just want it on a line of credit. That's called a heat lock, home equity line of credit. Based on whatever you use out of that hypothetically $100,000 example I gave you guys, if the home had $100,000 worth of equity, you use $20,000, you get charged based on $20,000. But remember, all your payments are first, one, interest only, meaning every payment you make goes straight to the person's pocket. Nothing goes towards principal. And number two, the interest rate on a home equity on a heat lock is always variable, meaning it could keep going up. And you got to be very careful. Because if it keeps going up and your project that you invested into is not going up and is going down, you're in a real bad situation. But like I said, the fourth one is that sometimes people just refinance because their property's appreciated so high. They have great cash flow. So they decided to pull the money out of the property. Because not everybody refinances because they're going to invest into something. I always recommend people invest into something if you're going to refinance. But sometimes people refinance because it's a great opportunity for them to pull and liquidate some assets out of their equity. Think about this. You have a building. And the building, hypothetically, is making you, I don't know, $60,000 a month. Even if you pull out $1 million, you're still making $60,000 a month. Why not put $1 million up? Because the building is still paying for itself. You don't lose nothing pulling out that money. So now you have $1 million liquid. Now what you do with that is up to you. Because I want you guys to understand, not everybody pulls out equity out of a home or a building. Because I keep saying building because a lot of you only look at real estate as residential. You always look at it as a condo, a house, a townhouse. People, you got to step your game up. You got to step your game up. The wealthy people that I'm meeting, they own buildings. And that's what I'm going for right now. I have a friend, he's not on this live right now. He owns 100 doors, his family, him and his family. 100 doors. This guy has a $21 million portfolio right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We call that AUM, Assets Under Management. This guy has a $21 million AUM. While some of us don't even own a home. So our AUM is zero. People, you got to catch up. This world is not about being ignorant. You got to educate your mind, and this is what these videos are about. It's about teaching you how to leverage your home, the importance of investing into an asset, which is a house, condo, or a townhouse, knowing when to pull out equity out of your home, knowing what to invest it into, knowing that pulling out equity doesn't mean just blow the money and go buy a car. That's not what this is about. You should never pull out equity out of a home and go buy a car. That's the dumbest thing to do. That is the dumbest. I don't even like to say dumb. That is the dumbest thing to do. There has to be a brighter plan. You should be trying to figure out, how do you get cash flow? That's what this game is always about. How do I get more cash flow? How do I get money to come in when I don't have to work, while I'm sleeping at night? Meaning people are paying you rent. This is what this game is about. Some of you may not understand. You may not understand everything I'm saying right now. But when it finally click in, you're going to realize that he's right. At the end of the day, you could work till you're 60 like this world wants you to, or you can retire at 40 and just float for the rest of your life. It's really up to you. You choose. But there's no way you're going to stop working if you don't have income coming in without you working. And the only way to do that is real estate. Real estate is a very powerful, powerful asset. You can make money in real estate in a lot of ways, flipping real estate. You can make money renting real estate. You can make money Airbnb-ing real estate. You can make money pulling out the equity out of your home, out of real estate to invest into something, another piece of real estate. You can make money renting land of real estate. You can make money owning buildings of real estate, meaning owning an apartment complex. People don't ever think anything is too far-fetched in your mind. I'm a regular guy that grew up in the urban developments that had nothing at a certain point in my life. And now I sit here telling myself I can't wait to get my first $1.7 million loan, $2 million loan. In a weird way, it's nothing. It really is. Because when I sit down with other people at certain tables, they have $40 million loans. I'm behind. They have $90 million loans. And it's not just them. They came together with a couple people collectively. And this is something a lot of us don't like to really do. We're always living in this world trying to do things in an individualistic mindset. I want to do things by myself. I don't want to tell this person. I don't want to tell my friend. I don't want to. People, if you think, I'm a little under the weather. If you think you're going to own 100 doors by yourself, if you think you're going to be super wealthy in this world by yourself, you're only lying to yourself. I haven't met one person that owns 50 doors or more by themselves. Everybody in commercial real estate has partners. Not everybody. Majority of people in commercial real estate do not buy buildings cash. They finance. The fight that a lot of us are having right now that we don't want to really understand, this is why I talked about tonight, refinancing, learning how to pull out equity, learning what is equity. If a building is $1 million, the bank's going to want you to put 20% down. 20% down of $1 million is $200,000. For a lot of us, that is the fight we're having right now. We do not have $200,000. But if you don't have $200,000, but you have 3 friends that might have $50,000, times that by 4, that is $200,000. The problem is, I know how hard. I know it's hard. It is not easy working with 4 people who are not like-minded. When you're investing with other people, if you pull out equity out of your house and you're about to invest into something with somebody else, make sure that person has the same goals as you. Make sure that person understands business. Business is never personal. It's just business. Make sure that person understands that everything is not about just being with me when things are good. It's about being with me when things are bad. That is what a true partner is. A lot of you have this mindset. You want to win in life. You want to be wealthy, but you want to do it by yourself. Look at the wealthy people that's around you in this world. Look at the wealthy people that's on TV in this world. Name one super wealthy person that does it by themselves. Mark Cuban, name one. Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett have a team of individuals who makes certain decisions for him. Elon Musk. A lot of you didn't even know Elon Musk don't even own the company. Elon Musk is not who founded Tesla. I hope y'all know that. It was 2 other guys who founded Tesla. Elon Musk joined and bought out Tesla and created it to what it is today with a team of people from Princeton and Harvard. This is the misperception and the confusion of this world today. Nobody created an empire by themselves. In life, if you want to win, you need to get around people that's like-minded. You need to understand how to leverage. In this world today, that's why I'm doing this live about refinancing. You have to learn how to use other people's money to make money. That's how you win. I remember having a car dealership. I used to have something called a floor plan, a $500,000 floor plan. A floor plan is pretty much using a company's dollars I could use up to $500,000 to buy cars, but I got 90 days to sell it. Never using my money. Wealthy people only use other people's money to make money. Broke people love to use their money. Say it again. Wealthy people only use other people's money to make money. Broke people love to use their money to make money because they don't know no better. We're programmed in this world to think that we're going to make it in this world. We're going to buy $10 million buildings. We're going to be super wealthy by being selfish, by not working with people, by being biased. Some of us are being racist. People in this world, if you want to win, you better diversify your energy. You better diversify your personality. You better diversify your cultures, who you hang with. People have this thing where I'm black, I'm going to hang with black people only. All right, you do that. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Or I'm white, I'm only going to hang with white people only. Cool, keep doing that. Keep doing that. I have a very diverse set of friends. A lot of different friends. They all different cultures. I do not lack any cultures in my element, my array of friends. I have a lot of different cultures, from Jamaican to Haitian to Chinese to Pakistani to a lot of Middle Eastern friends. I have a lot of different diverse cultures because you learn so many things from different types of people. But a lot of us, we like to stay in that small little box, and we get very comfortable. Tonight's topic for a lot of you that's just joining in was simply teaching you what is refinancing a home, telling you about the different ways you could refinance, the normal refinancing, which is just reducing your mortgage payment, stretching it out longer, doing what we call a cash out refinance. You're cashing out the equity, and which pretty much means they're going to add a couple extra hundreds or $1,000 to, it depends. They're going to add a couple more dollars to your monthly mortgage. But you get to cash out the equity. Hypothetically, your equity was $100,000. You could pull 80% of that. You pull out the $80,000. Now your mortgage went from $1,500 to $1,700 for the next 30 years. And another way to, of course, refinance, which is called a heat lock, home equity line of credit, where you get to pull that $100,000 as a credit line, and you only get charged based on what you use. One thing I had to make sure I have you guys understand: do not pull equity out of your hardworking homes if you don't have a plan in place. Some of you are going to pull the equity out just to buy cars. Some of you are going to pull the equity out just to buy jewelry, just to go show off to somebody else. Better yet, why don't you pull the equity out? Don't even tell nobody. And then find somebody that can give you some ideas on where do you invest your money. You should actually think about investing before you even pull the equity out. Because the minute you pull the equity out of your house, the bill is coming. But you should never be scared. I don't believe in living in a risk-averse world. It's like I meet a lot of people in this world, they have great credit but never use it. What's the point of having good credit? What's the point of having great credit, 800 credit score, you never use it? You never making money with your credit score. I could never understand it. I meet so many people, my credit score is 820. My credit score is 750. What you invested into? Nothing. So what's the point of bragging about your credit? Just to tell people you got good credit? So you're not invested into anything. And I'm going to keep saying this. Wealthy people use other people's money to make money. Broke people love using their money to make money. People, if you got any questions, feel free to ask your questions tonight before I get off this live. As you guys know, I know a lot of you have been DMing me about the stock market. I'm surprised for the last 10 days, the stock market has been going up a little bit, giving us a little push. So a lot of you should be a little comfortable. If you guys have any real estate questions tonight or any stock questions, I'll be glad to answer a couple questions before I get off this live. Tonight's topic is about refinancing your property, pulling out equity out of your property. Which type of refinancing should you do? Do you have a plan in place if you do pull out the equity out of your house? Why is it important to even own a home? This is why I say, people, owning a home is so valuable, because it builds equity if you bought it correctly. But for some of you that's buying in this expensive market right here and buying with no equity, I don't know what you're thinking. I really don't know what you're thinking, but it's your life. You do what you want. Some people are buying at the highest price ever in the history of the house they have. What happens when this market crashes? Do you understand how much of an opportunity you're about to miss because you bought your home incorrectly? But again, each your own. Who am I to judge? It's your home. It's your life. It's your money. Your decision. I can't tell you what to do. I just can tell you how I look at things and what would I do. In this expensive market right now, I'm not buying no house unless it makes sense financially. Numbers don't lie. Anytime you're buying a house or investing into anything, always look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. I see I have no questions, so I'm going to get off this live. This is your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. Appreciate all the love. Don't forget, this Thursday, we're having a great relationship topic this Thursday alongside Mike, the advisor. Why do men lack communication skills? That's the topic for this Thursday. Why do men have such a big problem communicating? This Thursday will be a great topic. See you guys this Thursday night. It's your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. Enjoy your night, people.